Hello and welcome back to another installment of Ask Eddie and Ann. How are you doing, Ann?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. You look fantastic. I see Charlotte is present and accounted for. You have hard copies of the questions right at hand. I can see that. Very good. And we have lots of fun things to talk about tonight, whether they're in the questions or outside the realm of the questions. So, well, let's get to it. I'm a little grungier than normal. I hope people aren't taken aback. I did not. Yeah, you can't really see in this light, I guess, but I didn't even have time to shave today. I've been working all day writing scripts and stuff, and I just didn't. I'm a mess. So at least I combed my hair. Okay, so are we ready to roll here?
We're ready to roll. So
Okay.
let's talk about what everyone's been asking about that we haven't been able to answer yet, which is North City Festival.
Yes, there is going to be a Noir City Film Festival in the San Francisco Bay Area. It will be January 20th to the 23rd. We are doing an abbreviated version, I think, for obvious reasons. I think it should be apparent to people. I felt it was a little risky to go for the full 10-day thing over 2 weekends because I don't know how people will feel about wanting to commit to 10 days of being with people every night for 10 consecutive days. So we have abbreviated it to 4 days, but the main news is we have changed venue. This year's edition will be at the Grand Lake Theater in Oakland, California, which I know a lot of people are familiar with, but those who maybe aren't familiar with it saw it on my Noir Alley show, because I recorded a bunch of shows there during the pandemic, and realized when I was there that it was like tailor-made for this. So that's how we're going to roll. So I'm pretty excited, and that's all I'm going to say for right now. Everything should at the time this installment airs, everything should be up and online and on social media, and all the websites should be active, and the tickets should be available. So that's the deal. It's a Thursday to a Sunday. It's 12 films, double bill on Thursday and Friday night, and then 4 separate admission shows on Saturday and 4 separate admission shows on Sunday. So that's the scoop.
Okay. And
Yes.
and there'll be passes too.
Oh yes, there will be passes, very reasonably priced passes for the whole thing. It's obviously, and it's we did fine at the AFI Silver back in October. That was a well-attended show, but things are a little different in the satellite shows than they are in the Bay Area shows. The Bay Area shows are a very, very important part of our fundraising effort. And so it's important that we get full houses, but it's a little, we're just uncertain about things right now. And it's hard to plan when you're wondering if, there will be another spike in COVID cases. And if the governor says, we're instituting mandates that say you can only have certain capacity indoors, or if somehow we were only able to fill every 4th seat in that venue. It is a smaller venue than the Castro Theater, right? We're going from 1,400 seat capacity to 620 seats. And, whereas I think that's nice because it'll feel full, even if we don't draw as large an attendance as we have in the past, it'll feel full. I would hate for there to be some kind of restriction that says we can only be at half capacity in the theater. So we're just going to roll the dice and see what happens here. And I hope people are excited about it as I am, and that they will come out. The commitment, we used to always get people saying, which weekend should I come? Well, this time There's no question. There's one weekend, so that's it. If you're traveling to do this, that's it. It's Thursday the 20th to Sunday the 23rd.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
And just let people know too. Once we sort of hope, we won't have dates about about the satellite festivals quite yet, so you are going to have to be patient on that.
We'll be able to tell you about Seattle, which will happen in the next installment of this show, and it'll of course be online and on social media and everything, and SIF will post their stuff. But I've been in communication with the folks in Seattle, and we are definitely moving ahead with the festival up there. So it's good.
Okay, great. So you ready for the first question?
Yes, I am ready.
Okay, this is from Michael in Post Falls, Idaho. I recently received my copies of The Better Stems and The Beast Must Die.
Yes.
From Flicker Alley, and thoroughly enjoyed the two films I'd never seen before. I own all the Film Noir Foundation has restored and issued through Flicker Alley, except for The Prowler, and have been and found the productions to be first rate, on par of sometimes even better than many Criterion discs I own. And just thank you so much for saying all
That's
that.
nice. That's nice. That's nice to hear.
In his introduction to The Beast Must Die, Eddie stated that he had first shown the restoration at the 2019 North City in San Francisco, along with El Vampiro Negro by the same director, which the foundation had also restored. He also mentioned the foundation hoped to bring it to Blu-ray very soon. How soon?
2022.
Oh, okay.
That's the answer. There were some issues there, just some complications that don't need to be, nothing serious, just some intriguing behind the scenes things that have since then been ironed out. So we will be doing that with Flicker Alley, and I'm hoping that the film will be coming out in the fall of 2022. El Vampiro Negro, the Black Vampire. Fantastic movie. Okay. You want me to do the next one?
Yeah.
Okay. Recently on Ask Eddie, someone asked about a Noir Database. At first, Eddie wasn't sure what would go into such a database because so many possible categories are common to most noirs. As the episode continued, both of you started thinking of possible categories that could make up such a database. One I thought of is holiday noirs, most specifically Christmas noirs. What a timely question this is. And this is from Paula, who can think of the films Christmas Holiday, Cover Up, Mr. Soft Touch, Lady in the Lake, and Roadblock. Are there any others? And happy holidays, says Paula. And Paula, right back at you. Happy holidays. It's so funny because the only one we haven't shown in the movies that she listed as a Noir City Christmas is Cover Up,
Yeah.
which has only recently been available in a really nice, cleaned up version, and which is showing on Turner Classic Movies, not on Noir Alley, but on Turner Classic Movies as part of its Christmas marathon this year. All the other ones we have shown. What other ones can you think of off the top of your head?
La Horta.
La Otra, yeah, the with which we also showed, the Mexican film. And the film I am showing this holiday season on Noir Alley is Blast of Silence, which is definitely set at Christmas time. Kiss of Death opens on Christmas Eve. I know that. There are quite a few. And then, Paula is definitely talking about classic noir. I also, I really like Remember the Night with Fred MacMurray and Barbara Stanwyck. Even though nobody thinks of it as a film noir, it's a great Christmas movie. You know, Stanwyck made a few of them. Christmas in Connecticut is another good one, but those aren't noir films. But The Silent Partner, which is a neo-noir with Elliot Gould and Christopher Plummer, is a great Christmas noir film.
And what was the one with Peter Cushing?
Cash on Demand.
Cash on Demand, which has been one of my all-time favorite things we've shown at North City Christmas.
Yeah, that's a sensational film. That was a Hammer film with Andre Morel and Peter Cushing. It's like it's sort of like a Christmas Carol, done as a noir, like a heist movie over the holidays, just before the bank closes for the holiday. Great film. Andre Morel is just
fantastic.
They're both great in that film, but Andre Morel is especially. It's a great character that he plays. There's also a movie called Christmas Eve, which which we've shown at our show, but I can't highly recommend it, even though Randolph Scott, George Raft, Randolph Scott, a few other people are in it. It doesn't quite work as a movie, so I'm not too high on that.
I got a soft spot for it anyway, though.
Yeah, well,
I mean, you're right.
Fine.
I mean, it doesn't quite come together, but I like it anyway.
Well, at some point when we get back to doing our Christmas shows, I will show in 3D I, the Jury, which is set during Christmas. So the Mickey Spillane's I, the Jury with Biff Elliott as Mike Hammer, photographed in 3D by John Alton. That in black and white, and that's pretty fantastic. I'm not going to say it's a great film or anything, but if you're a noir fan, that one obviously holds appeal. Okay, those are the ones I can think of off the top of my head. I know I'm leaving something out that I've shown. Lady on a Train is another one that we talked about all these recently because there was a Deanna Durbin question. Yeah. Okay.
And this is from Bob in Seattle. What do you think of Leonard Maltin's reviews of film noirs movies in his classic film guide? Though he likes many of them, they usually do not rate more than 2.5 stars out of 4. Is it because of the lower budgets for these movies, or is it the less famous actors in these movies? I'm just curious, as I enjoyed most of them that I see on TCM or YouTube, as 3 stars is generally the gold standard for a good movie.
That's a funny question. Yeah. I am not a person who assigns stars to movies, so I don't really put much stock in it. However, I do appreciate Leonard and his taste. And once you kind of know a critic's attitude and predilections for things, you can kind of suss out, like, okay, he may be calling this a 2.5 star movie, but I'm going to watch it because 2.5 stars is enough. If Leonard gives it 2.5 stars, that's going to be enough. I don't think that Leonard is the kind of person, because Leonard loves all kinds of movies, and he's not going to say, oh, this one didn't have high enough production values or it didn't have enough big stars to rate it higher. I don't think Leonard figures that into his judgments at all. I will tell you one quick funny story about Leonard and his film guide. Is years ago in LA, I tried to show the movie Shakedown, and Universal Pictures, and it was a very embarrassing moment because that was a real rarity at that point. That's the 1950 Universal picture with Howard Duff and Brian Donlevy and Lawrence Tierney. And Universal sent the wrong movie to the theater. And so all these people who had come out, like Curtis Hanson and Joe Dante and a few other people who were there to see this rare screening, were like, oh, Eddie, what a screw up, and they walked out. But Leonard stayed, even though it was the wrong movie, because the movie they sent was called The Shakedown. Not Shakedown, it was The Shakedown. And it was a howler. I mean, there was Donald Pleasance is in it, and there were some scenes in that movie that just completely won over the audience. And I will never forget because I was in disgrace, but then the movie kind of saved me, right? Because people did end up liking the film. And as Leonard was leaving, he said to me, I'm going to go home and give that another star. I think he probably only gave it a half star. I think the stuff that was good about it probably rated an additional half star. But who knows? You can look it up in his guide, right? Look up The Shakedown, which has got to be right next to Shakedown, and see which one has more stars. Okay. This is Mike in Florida, says, you made the comment on TCM that there are no bad noir films. Okay, I assume Mike is talking to me, and I gotta say, I don't have any recollection of saying that, but okay. Well, you must not have seen Whistle Stop with George Raft. Just saying. Because in general, I agree with you. So my question, what was there in noir of the 40s and 50s that distinguished their quality from the mountain of garbage that comes out of the movie factories of today? Says Mike in Florida. Well, okay, Mike, a couple of things here. And I'm going to dive in since this clearly I have to defend myself here. And I don't recall saying there were no bad noir films. I think what I said was I don't really think in those terms of good or bad. There's always something that redeems a film or that you can find of interest in the film. Finding something of interest in the film is not the same as saying the film is good or that it's not, not bad, whatever. I just choose not to do that because I don't, I just, that's not the way I go. I've seen Whistle Stop and, there's a reason to watch it. It's called Ava Gardner. And beyond that, there isn't much else going on in that film. But if you're a noir completist, you're going to watch it. But, the other part about this is I don't, and Mike actually answers his own question when he says, what was there in the noir of the 40s and 50s that distinguished their quality from the mountain of garbage that comes out of the movie factories of today? Well, number one, I don't think movies are that much better or worse than they were back then. There's just way more of them. And there is no movie factory today. So the difference is they were made at movie factories in the 40s and 50s, and there was a certain standard of quality that MGM and RKO and Paramount, there was a certain standard of quality that they all held to, and a certain uniformity of production that they all had that allowed them to be at that certain level. That does not exist anymore. So even if those studios exist, those movies aren't really being made at a movie factory. All movies today, virtually all of them are independently made films where the studio may be putting up completion money or something, but they are not controlling the production from start to finish. They're basically gambling that this is something worth taking a risk on, and I will now include Netflix and Amazon and, in that same thing. They are now quote unquote studios. So I just think that so much is made today that you're going to get more bad films than there were bad films than there were in the old days. But I don't think that there's really, it's just a totally different process by which the films get made. And there has to be some impact on quality control because of that. But I would argue that you gain as much as you lose, because by not being made by a factory, you gain a freshness, and you can be more innovative. You can do things differently than they were allowed to be done back in the old days. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, So that's my answer to that. Anything you want to add? Anything to that, Ann?
I mean, I think the kind of the major difference is that I think there's just a lot of problems now with writing, which I think we talked about in the last episode. but kind of the problem now is a lot of people who write screenplays now only read screenplays, so they're not really literate, and I think it just really shows.
Well, there is that. I would argue that to my point, there's a greater disparity. I would say that some of the writing today is better than ever.
Yeah.
Better than ever.
Absolutely.
Right. And some of it is worse than ever.
Yeah.
Because it's semi-literate people who are writing screenplays and things, and that's what I mean. In the old days, nothing went into production until everybody at the studio had signed off on the last draft of the screenplay, which everybody agreed was ready to go. Mm-hmm. I know for a fact that today a lot of stuff goes into production and the screenplay may stink. Yeah. And it's like, well, that's okay. We got to get this done because we're only going to get the money for finding out. Well, we'll fix it on the fly. We'll fix it in post, all this kind of stuff. So, I mean, that's a major difference. But as I said, it's this disparity that's more obvious today. That's it. I think I answered. Okay.
I think you did too. Okay, so this is from Jim in Alexandria, Virginia. 5 Steps to Danger, Noir or Not. Thanks for showing the film. I would never have seen it otherwise.
Oh, okay. So he saw the film because I just showed that on Noir Alley, and as may come as a shock to some people, I don't have to be committed to a film 100% as a film noir to show it on Noir Alley. I mean, I will show it because I find it amusing, or there's, and here's an example. This 5 Steps to Danger, which I don't really think is a film noir, but I think it shares enough commonality with certain famous noirs, which I pointed out in my introduction. Like this starts out like it's Detour, and it turns into something else, and then it becomes a Cold War espionage movie. But good film or bad film? Oh my God, there's stuff in it that I'm just cringing because it's like, this should have been done differently. This is people standing around in rooms talking to each other, but the people are kind of interesting. When Sterling Hayden is one of those people, I'm automatically in, so yeah, I'm going to say it's really not a noir. I would never include it in any filmography or something that I was doing on noir, but that doesn't preclude me from showing it one time on TCM just because it's kind of fun and I want to talk about it. So there you go. Okay, Joe in San Francisco says, I think a lot of people tend to be disappointed by movie remakes. They never seem to be nearly as good as the original. One movie I think that would be worth redoing, set in the present day, is The Best Years of Our Lives. It would be a different movie, wouldn't it? Wow. But I think what Joe is saying is that that's something that could be easily updated to modern times, is the troubles of soldiers coming back home. Are there any movies, noir or otherwise, that either of you would like to see as a remake? Anne, you got anything?
I'd like to see a remake of? No. I mean, Serenade, which we've talked about like a million times. So I'll just say it again. Serenade really, really, really desperately needs to be remade. But we've talked about that like at length in other episodes. Yeah,
that's interesting because when you say that title, I think, well, that never got made in the first place.
Yeah, not really.
Right, because the movie has nothing really in common with the book. I'm done.
I just wanted to put a quick plug in because of him talking about modern best years of our lives. I can recommend, if you're kind of looking for something like that, there's this really incredible Danish film called Brothers not the American remake, the Danish film with Nikolai Lake-Haas and Laura Thompson, who's an amazing actor. And but it really shows the effect of war.
And what was the American version?
It's also called Brothers, and like Jake Gyllenhaal, I think, is in it.
It's interesting. I saw Jake Gyllenhaal in that interesting thing that just came out, called, I think it's called The Guilty, or Guilty or something. Did you see that?
Haven't watched it.
Where he's like the disgraced cop who draws like traffic duty, and it's interesting because it's like this super low budget film because it's all just him in a it's like the Tom Hardy movie where he's just on the cell phone.
Yeah.
These are interesting ideas for our era of like taking how we're connected, not physically, but over, the radio waves and cell phones and stuff. And it was really interesting. It was a good film. Anyway, that's all. That was an aside. I think it's
me, right?
You. Yes.
Okay. And this is from me, M-I. Not, yeah.
I get you.
Yeah. Is White Heat a film noir or just a heist caper?
It better be a film noir because I write about it at length in Dark City. But it's an outlaw movie more than it's a gangster movie. I will say that. And I just think that because the protagonist is the bad guy in the film, I definitely think you can include it in the realm of noir. Plus, it's part of the story that I'm telling in Dark City, and it's how White Heat was kind of the moment at which noir flipped again from because in all those movies of the 30s, like gangsters were outside the law and everything. Then in film noir, the crimes were being committed by a lot of otherwise normal people, right? Like you didn't know that you could commit a murder. You didn't know that you really wanted to rob a bank and all this stuff. But Cody Jarrett is clearly an outlaw with a mental problem that drives him. And that represented a real change in motivations for characters, saying that society doesn't create criminals. Criminals are born. They have something wrong in their head that makes them do what they do. And so it's a very interesting film for that reason, because it sort of came along at a time in the noir movement where they were saying, you know what, we don't want to see normal people commit crimes anymore. We want to go back to psycho, crazy outlaw freaks like Cody Jarrett. But I still consider it to be definitely a film noir. And a great heist picture too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, me.
You, sorry.
Okay, Ron here says, okay, odd question, I know. But would film noir have been as enduring had it not been given that wonderful French appellation? For instance, would people still be enthralled if it had been given the moniker soulless films? Okay, Ron. Well, I don't happen to agree with soulless films as a replacement name for noir films. I find these films very soulful. What do you think about that, Anne? If they weren't called film noir, would they be as popular, or what would they be called? I know exactly what they would be called because it's what they were called all that time in Hollywood when they were being made. I mean,
yeah, I mean, I was going to say, I guess I wonder, like, because at the time the films were really popular and no one was calling them film noir. That was something that was attached later. And I think people would still be drawn to these films anyway, because I think that, modern audiences, because I think the things that make people drawn to them as noir is, the setups of the stories, and I think the kind of sarcasm and wit, and the, things are glamorous then in the way that they're not now, so I think the appeal would still be there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Roman
I have to. Obviously I have to agree with that. Back then they were called crime thrillers or murder dramas, and honestly, and I point this out, all the time in interviews and stuff. They were crime thrillers if the crooks were professionals, and they were murder dramas if the crooks were amateurs.
Yeah.
So Postman Always Rings Twice, Double Indemnity, those are murder dramas, whereas the Asphalt Jungle and Kiss of Death and stuff, those are crime thrillers. But I think Ron is sort of onto something here, because I do believe that the fact that people don't know instantly what noir is has certainly enhanced interest.
Yeah.
Right? When it's not like it's a Western.
Right.
It's a crime picture. It's a musical. They go, it's a noir. And people are like, what does that mean exactly? And everybody had that. Everybody who loves noir now at some point had that moment where they didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's just a no-brainer, right? Unless you're reading film books when you're like 7 years old or something, you learned this. And that made it kind of intriguing. And the fact that it's debatable, like, come on, I am the guy who gets asked noir or not more than anything else. And it's just funny, because if it was, nobody says, is this a Western or not?
Yeah.
Is this a comedy or not? And it's like, even if you don't laugh at it, you'd still label it a comedy. But, with noir, it's like, White Heat. Is that a film noir or not? So clearly, the label noir has served these films well, because people can debate what it is.
Much is said about, and this is from John in Brooklyn, much is said about the use of light and shadow in noir, but what of the use of staircases? I know staircases are used in many films as a device to increase tension and suspense, but I was wondering about their particular occurrence and importance in noir. One film that came to mind is Force of Evil, when John Garfield descends a long staircase on 135th Street and Riverside Drive in Manhattan, like going down to the bottom of the world, to reach the lighthouse under the GW Bridge for the climactic scene. What are your thoughts on staircases in noir?
I mean, that's a really good observation, and that's not the only staircase in Force of Evil that figures prominently. There are some pretty dramatic interior staircases as well. I think John has seen a number of movies where these things figure, but I would also caution that staircases are not particular. They're not specific to noir. They're all over the place. I mean, they're just great to use in movies. I mean, how many musicals feature staircases? Stormy Weather, where the Nicholas brothers dance down the stairs, right? Or whatever the great Jimmy Cagney movie is, where he, at the end, when he dances down the stairs, it's, oh my God, it's fantastic.
And I'll build a Stairway to Paradise.
Yeah, so there you go. I mean, staircases are great because visually they're fantastic, and who can pass them up? I mean, how many movies have, I'm just thinking of what's the one, Desperate, that has the great staircase at the end, where Steve Brody's coming out and Raymond Burr is waiting for him, and the whole thing is shot through that staircase. And whatever. I mean, you could count fire escapes as staircases, and there's there are all kinds of great fire escapes in these movies. There's inherent drama in it because of the ascension and the descent, and they're great for chase scenes, everything. Strange Love of Martha Ivers has a great staircase. It's fantastic, but I don't think it's peculiar to film noir. I think it's something that directors and cinematographers are drawn to, regardless of what the genre is. They just do figure somewhat prominently in a lot of these great noir films.
And I tell you honestly, my favorite use of a staircase is still in Psycho. You know, and and it's really funny because I actually think that that's like a better like kill scene than the shower scene. I mean, not this shower. I mean, the shower scene's perfect, because I don't want to say that, but that scene really gets me every time with Martin Balsam. I think it's because you see his foot slip, and there's something so relatable to that, because we've all kind of had our foot slip, you know.
Well, it's so fantastic because also because what Hitchcock is trying to accomplish in these scenes, you know, it's all directing the eye. But in the shower sequence, he does that through all the editing.
Yeah.
And on the staircase sequence, he kind of does it through camera movement.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because there aren't that many shots in the staircase sequence, right?
Yeah.
There's just that amazing, you know, rising camera that turns around. And it's funny to think, if that were made today, and I didn't see the Gus Van Sant's, you know, shot for shot remake, but I would be curious if a younger audience today watching Psycho wonders why the camera is doing that. Because I think audiences are more camera savvy now. Like young people, everybody has a camera. Everybody uses a camera all the time. So I would imagine that today, when that camera move happens and it rises above the stairs, people are going to say, why is that happening? What don't they want me to see?
Yeah.
Right. And that was the whole trick in Psycho, was we're not going to show you a front on view of Mother.
Yeah.
You know, that was the whole point. And, but then after that, it's just, you know, the back projection of Balsam on the stairs. And somehow the guy can sell the idea that you can fall down an entire flight of stairs without actually falling. right? Which is like astounding, really, that he sold that. Like, how in the world did they do that? Anyway, and of course, you're mentioning Psycho makes me say, well, what about Vertigo? There's another great staircase in Vertigo. So they're all over the place.
And there's two great staircase sequences in Halloween, the original Halloween. So
I knew you'd get John Carpenter in there somehow. Very good, very good. Okay, here's from Dennis, says, I watched The Blue Gardenia recently. Good. And love seeing George Reeves as the police captain. I also get a kick out of seeing Hugh Beaumont in Railroaded. Can you recommend any other classic noirs where actors more widely known for their television work were given a pretty good part? Well, that's interesting, because all of these things, Dennis, that you are citing, these people are in these films before they were on television, well before they were on television. So, you know, that's the chronology here, is that you're making, and well, The Blue Gardenia isn't a B movie, but, you know, you're making movies and then the work goes to TV, right? Can you think of anybody? I mean, one I know right off the top of my head, because we just restored the Argyle Secrets, is Barbara Billingsley, right? Speaking of Hugh Beaumont, Barbara Billingsley, who is Mrs. Cleaver in Leave It to Beaver, she has a pretty good role in the Argyle Secrets. You know, she's fairly prominent and pretty cute in the film, I gotta say. Does that make me a lecherous old man or something? Like, when all of a sudden I feel like Eddie Haskell, like, you're looking rather fetching today, Mrs. Cleaver. You know.
Well, I was just going to say, I think one of the things that was so fun, because, you know, as a kid, I grew up watching My Three Sons. It was just always on repeats.
Of
and
course.
It's like when I saw Double of Dim, and it was like, oh my God.
Oh my God.
You know, Fred McMurray. And then also when I started getting really into Preston Sturges, you know, I had no idea that
William Demarest
had this, like, you know, whole incredible career.
Yeah, he was a great supporting player in all of those comedies, not just Preston Sturges, but a bunch of them, you know. But that's so fascinating to me, because so many people, but I don't know how it works today with younger people today, because, I'm of a certain age where I remember seeing all of those people on TV first.
Yeah.
My first exposure, say, to Loretta Young was on her TV show.
Yeah.
Right. And so I knew Loretta Young, like, oh, she's the one with the TV show where she comes dancing through the doors with her gown swirling and everything.
Yeah.
And then you realize, oh, she's in all these other movies. And then you go back and see her early movies and you realize, oh my God, this woman was around from the dawn of talkies,
Yeah.
or somebody like Lucille Ball, right? Lucille Ball did noir.
Yeah.
She did a lot of pictures, but she was in The Dark Corner, she's in Lured, she's in Two Smart People, and then she goes on to be the queen of television.
And that was another one, because of course I grew up watching I Love Lucy reruns, and like the first time I saw her, like in something, I think maybe it was Ziegfeld Follies. It was, oh my God, because she was so glamorous and just like, wow,
But it's so funny because Dennis's question is so interesting because I think I saw all of these people on television first. Like actors like Barry Sullivan or something like that, who was just on every TV show.
Yeah.
Every Quinn Martin cop show was like guest starring Barry Sullivan, and Philip Abbott and all that. It's like, okay.
Quinn Martin production.
And then you just see these guys in every movie in the 40s and 50s, so that was true of a lot of people.
Yeah.
So interesting question. We should do like a survey of, who were people's favorite noir stars who had the best television show after their run in noir. Even Audrey Totter was on Medical Center. She was like the chief nurse on Medical Center or something. Pretty funny. Thank you for that question, Dennis.
Yeah, and this is from Francesca in Seattle. In a 1987 David Letterman interview, Jack Elam, Kansas City Confidential, Kiss Me Deadly, said he bought a few acting roles when he was starting out. What did he mean by that?
Huh, that's interesting. Well, I haven't seen the interview. I was there a link?
There was a link. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I'll go and watch the interview. But I think Jack Elam was an accountant. So, what that kind of means in general is where you pay your way in to a career, right? Yeah. And you can do that in a lot of ways. You can just, if it's a low budget movie, you buy your way in by throwing money around at the people making the movie, take them out to dinner, buy them a car or something. Yeah. Or, if it's a big budget movie, you buy your way in by having your people make them an offer they can't refuse, that's that's sort of what that was all about. That's how the horse head ends up in the guy's bed in The Godfather. You do buy your way in. We're gonna make arrangements here so that you're in this film. So it's interesting that it would be Jack Elam, right? Mm-hmm. Then again, look, I'm just thinking about this. Like one of my all-time favorite movies, Mulholland Drive. That's a big part of the plot. Is buying, this is the girl. This is the girl. And these gangsters are going to buy her way into the motion picture, So anyway, you don't want to say bribe. You want to say buy. And who knows? In Elam's case, I don't, I'd have to research this, but who knows? You can also buy your way in like the way Pia Zadora had bought her way into the movie. She had a husband who basically financed the movie to put her in it, and that happens too. It's like you put me in this role, I'll give you the $100,000 you're looking for that you need to round out the budget. I'll give you the money if you put me in the film.
Or like if you ever watch the movie Ed Wood, there's a couple different ways that works. One is puts the girl in the picture to get her money to produce it, and then to get the money from another producer, he has to put the son in the film.
Right. Time-honored tradition in Hollywood.
Oh.
Okay, Serge. Hey, good to have Serge back. I have a specific question regarding one of the greatest film noirs ever made. Do you think that the announcement from the police chief, John McIntyre, at the end of the Asphalt Jungle may have been part of a strategy of negotiation to please the censors? Prior to that, while showing expertise, professionalism, and solidarity on the part of the criminals, John Huston portrays the police officer, played by Barry Kelly, and the lawyer, Alonzo P. Emmerich, as low moral individuals, which seems contrary to Hays Code rules. So basically, Serge is asking if they had to put that in. And the answer is no. I don't know if somebody demanded it goes in, but that scene is in the book. And the stuff that Huston left out of, there's a lot that he left out, including a whole character a young newspaper reporter who's a prominent character in the story. But that scene is there where he does exactly the same thing, where he says the jungle wins, and then he turns off all the police scanners, and he says, "That's it, silence, the jungle wins," And I don't know for a fact whether Huston thought, "Hey, good job, Burnett. That's a very cinematic way of making the point. Let's keep that in." Or whether somebody said there has to be something in there. I mean, Huston may have already known that he needed to do that and chose that moment as the keeper, while he dropped a bunch of other stuff that pertained to the cops and the city newspaper in the film. So I think it's a good scene. It doesn't feel to me like it's tacked on. It feels to me like there has to be some sense of the police in this movie, and that was the kind of a smart way to do it.
Okay. This is from from Jeff.
We also wanted to. I know that I saw this question
part.
from Serge. Yeah, you do that. Well, we're going to thank Serge.
Thanks for the cute photo of Murto. It was this very adorable dog. He sent out.
Serge included a photo of his adorable dog with it. That was fantastic. So thank you for that. Okay.
And this is Jeff from Brooklyn. Eddie once mentioned that some silent films have elements of film noir. Immediately, Fritz Lang's M came to mind until I realized that M isn't a silent film.
No, it's not a silent film.
Is it possible to name a film that has strong elements of film noir in the silent era?
Oh, there's lots of them. I'm also on the board of the San Francisco Silent Film Festival, and I make a point of introducing like the most noirish film at each festival, and I've done that for a number of years now. One that just showed again recently at the AFI in Washington, D.C. is a picture called Outside the Law with Priscilla Dean, who is quite a revelation as today you would call her a feminist icon. Yeah. But back then, she was a rootin' tootin' shootin' gal who like brawled with men on screen and all. She was fantastic. So Outside the Law was one. A Cottage on Dartmoor is one by Anthony Asquith that is really terrific. Joe May's Asphalt is a terrific noir picture. This early Curtis Bernhardt film with Marlene Dietrich called The Woman Men Yearn For. That's a tremendous, very noir
poster
picture.
Of.
Do you now?
Yeah, they made a beautiful poster of it for the San Francisco Silent Film Festival, and I can see it from here.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, So there are a number of them, and other von Sternberg films, Underworld, which is considered to be like the first gangster movie, not so much a film noir in my estimation. Murnau's Sunrise is in a lot of ways, that's like a prototypical film noir.
Yes, I like to call that one a touching, beautiful romance about a man who wants to kill his wife.
There you go. Yeah. So there are a number of them. I mean, we just barely scratched the surface with these. So anyway, there are a lot out there. I should make a list, but if you go back to if you get our annuals, for a long time we have had a regular feature in the magazine, the Noir City magazine, called Silent Noir, which are all essays, mostly written by either me or Monica Nolan or Imogen Sarah Smith, where we're talking about silent movies as early examples of film noir. So there are a lot of those peppered throughout our annuals that are available online. There you go. Okay, I'm hoping it will be possible to schedule a future Noir Alley screening. I can't really talk about Noir Alley screenings here. Of The Aura, one of my very favorite films, El Aura. I'd really like to know more of the backstory on this somewhat overlooked Argentine classic, and also get Eddie's thoughts on the premature passing of its director, Fabian Belinsky.
Yeah, and I put this in, sorry, I just interrupt for a second. I put it in here not because you could talk about where or not it's going to show at Noir Alley, but I know how much you love this movie, and I figured I'd give you a chance to talk about it.
Thank you. He wanted to know about Belinsky's working relationship with Roberto Darin, and my feeling is he could not have gone out on a higher note. And that's Dave and Carmel, which I'm going to assume is Dave Elgin, who I have known for a number of years. Haven't seen you in a number of years, Dave, but I certainly know who you are. And Dave also wants to see a reappearance from Tizzy at some point. But you can see I'm sitting in my office and I'm kind of on a high chair here, so I don't have a couch conducive to cat lolling. So the odds of seeing Tizzy again are slim, but she may do a guest starring role at some point. I love El Aura. I think it's an absolute masterpiece. I think it's like one of the great films of this century so far. Darin is my favorite actor in the world. He is just fantastic. And Fabian Belinsky only made 2 movies, Nine Queens and The Aura. And Darin is in both of them. Both movies are spectacular. The thing that's interesting is, in Argentina, they have a system whereby if you want to become a feature film director, I don't know if this is still true, but this was certainly true back in the later part of the last century, where you had to serve an apprenticeship. You worked with other filmmakers, you learned all the different jobs, and gradually you worked your way up, and then at a certain point you could develop a script. And then, because there isn't the kind of money flying around in Argentina that there is here, everybody had to kind of buy in on, like, it's time for this guy to make a movie, and we're going to make this script, and here we go. And so Nine Queens was Belinsky's first film, and I'm just going to say it's like one of the 5 or 6 great debut films in history. And then El Aura was his second film. And then the poor guy, what I'm saying here is he wasn't a kid. He was in his 40s when he was making these movies. And I kind of regret that now, because he would have more movies under his belt if that wasn't the system in Argentina. And then he accepted a gig to direct a TV commercial in Brazil, and he died in the hotel room. He had a massive heart attack and died in his hotel room in Brazil when he was on location to shoot this TV commercial. And that's it. There's only those two movies. Vince Keenan wrote a nice piece about Belinsky in a long ago issue of the Noir City magazine, basically saying that probably that heart attack cut short the career of the man who would have been the great noir director of this generation.
Yeah.
And based on those two films, I would say it is hard to argue with that. And I think The Aura is such a unique and interesting film that you can't. So often when you see films made in this country, noir films, it's like, well, they're borrowing this from that, and this thing was, a tribute to that. But The Aura just seems like it emerged fully formed. It's like it borrows from nothing else. I mean, how many movies have a central character, who has these epileptic seizures in which it's preceded by the aura that comes over him, and he has these visions, and then he collapses, and it's a heist movie. Yeah. And it's a murder story, and it's just fantastic. You have no idea where that movie is going at any moment, and it's utterly compelling the whole way through. And I would watch Ricardo Darín pick up trash on the street. Just it would probably be like top 5 film of the year.
Yeah,
that's how good that guy is.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was. Thanks, Dave.
Yes.
And it has one of the greatest dogs in the history of movies is in that movie.
It's a great dog. Yeah, it really, really is a great dog. Yeah.
And the fact that the lead character is also a taxidermist is and that kind of plays a oddly peripheral role in the movie. But the fact that this dog is in the film, like clocking him through the whole movie, and it's like this guy's a taxidermist, and it feels like the dog knows. It's just fantastic. Okay,
and this is from Alan, one question only, Rossi, San Anselmo, California. If you could sit and watch one of your favorite noir films on DVD with one of the actors in that film, who would it be? And I'm going to say what's also the film. So I'm going to make you pick actor in film.
Well, I have a little head start on this one because I've done this a bunch of times, So yeah. But I want to hear your choice first. Do you have one?
Yeah, I think.
If you're gonna go with one of your Danish boys,
I'm keeping it to the classic period.
Okay.
No, I didn't even think about that. No, I'll keep it the classic period. I think it would be really fun to do because I can pick Dan Duryea.
Okay.
But I think Chicago Calling, because that was so much of something he just really wanted. I mean, he wasn't really doing that one for the money. I mean, he got paid, but that seemed to be something closer to his heart. And I would just like to hear about it. And it seems like that would be just an interesting film to hear about how they shot it and stuff. And, I also like that film because I just found his relationship with the boy in the film was just, amazing. And I don't know. And that was like his wife's favorite film of his. So
that's a good one. I like that. I wasn't trying to like be a smartass or something when I said, but I did have but it's not only on DVD. It's only been a few things, but otherwise it's been movies, where I've sat with the actors in the movie theater and watched the films with them, like watching Born to Kill with Lawrence Tierney.
Yeah.
Or watching, a lot of, I've seen a number of movies with Marsha Hunt, watching her on screen, and a lot of movies with Audrey Totter, and I watched Johnny O'Clock, which I just showed the other day on TCM. I did watch that with Evelyn Keyes in her apartment. That was fun. She was funny because she would go, "God, look at how beautiful I am in this shot. Oh my God, I'm gorgeous in this shot." Yeah, she knew the effect she had on people. So, but honestly, the one I'm going to say is I would watch Stardust with Linda Darnell, because I'd take the cigarette away from her and put it out, and then she wouldn't die in that fire, right? So that would be my choice, because that was her sad finish, was watching that film on TV. Of course, it's not on DVD. It was actually on TV. But, that's like a time travel one. If you could go back and time travel, it'd be like, Linda, we're going to stub this cigarette out, and you're going to make a few more movies before you're done. But anyway, I didn't mean to be, strange there at the end, but yeah, that's a good one. Anyway, so we're done. Fantastic. So now we'll just spend the rest of our time fielding all the questions about the upcoming Noir City Film Festival.
Yes, we can finally start answering questions about that. So I'm very, very excited.
Yes, and I'm glad people were so patient and waiting to find out. But we're actually, I hate to tell people this, but the difference, we're actually ahead of where we usually are.
Yeah.
Because I never announce the festival or any of the films or anything until the middle of December.
Yeah.
So we're not behind. It's just that now, because of Noir Alley and all this stuff, people want to plan much further ahead, and because of COVID and all that stuff. So we've gotten a lot more questions than normal about, is there going to be a festival? When's it going to be? How many days is it going to be? So I'm glad we were finally able to answer those questions.
Yeah, me too. And we'll definitely also, for the upcoming festivals, like you said, we'll talk about Seattle in our next episode. We'll be able to do that. And just, as the festivals come up, we will talk about it, here, as we can.
Yes. And I have a significant announcement in the offing that I haven't signed anything yet, and so I can't make it official, but I'm looking forward to a festival in a city we've never done one before. but there have been a lot of people asking for this to happen, so that one is in the pipeline. So I think probably I'm hoping before the year is out, we'll actually be able to announce that is happening. We probably won't be able to announce the films or anything like that, but we can at least tell you that it will be happening in 2022.
And I just want to put a quick plug in, since we are coming to the holiday season, and if you're looking for ideas, we have the Noir City Annual, which you can get on Amazon, plus 2 issues now of Noir City Magazine. So there's that. And by the time
the 3rd issue won't be out until early January.
Okay, so you got that to look forward to next year. And then obviously we have quite a few of our restorations available through Flickr Alley. So that's cool. How many are we up to now? So we've got,
oh my God, I can't even.
Tears, Woman on the Run,
Too Late for Tears, Trapped, The Man Who Cheated Himself. I know I'm leaving.
Beast Must Die.
The Beast Must Die, Los Taos Amargos, and well, that is Los Taos Amargos.
Sorry.
And soon in early 2022, Repeat Performance.
I'm so excited.
And a lot of great special features on that one, by the way. But I'm very pleased that the Argentine films are getting fantastic online reviews. you know, and it's exactly what I had hoped, that people are treating it like, wow, these are like, these really are lost classics that have been resurrected. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, we've gotten some nice, there's been some nice write-ups on that. It's been really exciting to see people getting into it. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. So Anne, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Charlotte, thank you. She's gone now, but
She's left.
I'm glad she's behaved herself. That was fantastic. And good questions, as usual. And we will be back shortly to answer more of them.
Yeah, we'll actually be back next week. So we're on a roll.
Okay.
It's been good.
Well, we'll see you then, Anne. I look forward to it.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you. And we'll see you all soon.